Good afternoon everybody, and welcome into my craft room for this fortnight's Stamp and Chat Live. I think I'm a bit quick. Let's see if I can straighten that. Okay, so as you know, Stamp and Chat Live is now fortnightly, but I didn't do 2 weeks ago because I was taking a week off. So I'm very happy to be with you here. And today I'm going to be looking at enamel accents, which are one of those things that are very easy to miss in the catalogue. And you might not know what they're for, you might not know what to do with them, and there's not very much guidance before you buy it, certainly in the catalogue. So I'm here to change all that. I think of them as little bottles of magic because there is so many things you can do with them. Before I talk to you about any of that, I'm just going to check on my iPad and make sure that it looks like I am live there. So bear with me just while I find myself there. And I will check that we've got some sound. I do hope so. And I can see I'm there. Let's just check there's some volume. Okay. Okay, right. So I can indeed hear myself. So that should mean that you can hear me too. All right, but before I start on the excitement that is enamel accents, I am going to, and I'm calling them enamel accents because that's what I use them for, to accent things. It's some enamel effects, but you knew what I meant, didn't you? I'm going to talk to you about a few things that are happening right now and will be shortly happening in the world of Stampin' Up. So the first thing to say is that we are still having the bonus days promotion. You may remember that during the whole of July, right up to the 31st, every time you spend £45 on products, you will be sent by email a coupon code, which will be worth £4.50 off an order in August. So buy in July, save in August. I know a lot of my customers already had vouchers. I've had some vouchers because I get them too, which is very exciting, and I'm looking forward to spending them on something nice next month. So if you have ordered but you're not sure if you've had your coupon code, check your email inbox and also check your spam or your junk folder. And if you've ordered from me and you can't find your coupon code, let me know. I didn't think I was going to be able to do anything about it if they got lost, but I think I may be able to talk to my support team, and fingers crossed we can sort it out for you. But I don't get sent your coupon code, so I can't locate them for you. I can only assist somebody else to do so. So you can spend those from the 1st of August right through the month, and August is only next week. It's not very far away, even if the weather is telling us otherwise. So that's bonus days. The second thing to tell you about is a promotion that is coming next month, a sale on some of our kits. Now you may or may not have come across the Stampin' Up kits. We have broadly two kinds, ones which include stamping and ones which don't include stamping. The project kits which include stamping have a stamp set in them and a sort of a mini block and a mini ink pad, and there's everything else that you need as well in all the kits, even your adhesives. They're absolutely amazing, and there are home decor things, there are card kits, there are gift packaging kits. The best place to see everything is to go to my website, which is sallybowman.stampinup.net, and to search there for the kits, and you can see all of them. However, don't buy any now. Wait until August, because some of them are going to be reduced by up to 30%. Even I don't know which ones yet. I'm waiting with bated breath for the 1st of August, because I do like a kit myself, to see which ones will be reduced. Kits are fantastic if you want a gift for a friend who you think might enjoy crafting but they haven't got a lot of stuff or haven't got any stuff. They're absolutely brilliant to go crafting either in the garden, on the beach, in your beach hut, in a caravan, a holiday cottage, anywhere you're going away or outside during the summer, because everything comes in a single box and they are just so easy to transport. You don't need anything else other than what's in there. Occasionally you need a pair of scissors to cut your ribbon, but if you haven't got ribbon or cord, you don't even need a pair of scissors. So the kits are brilliant. They're great for crafting with children as well. Everything is contained, you've got everything you need, and I just think they are wonderful. If you even get one of those days where you want to do some crafting but you have no idea what you want to make, grab a kit, because the thinking has all been done for you and you can just enjoy the making. So I love a kit. All right, so that's bonus days, that's the kits promotion next month, and just some class booking reminders. Hi Sandy, lovely to have you with us. Thank you for joining us. So the last day to book the August card class, whether you're doing it in person or by post, is a week today, which is August the 4th. So if you're wanting to do that class, make sure you let me know by August the 4th. It costs £22 for the in-person class, £24.50 for the by post class, because I obviously have to add on the postage. And there are options if you would like to place a minimum value order. You can do that as well, and then you get your class for free. And the cost of it in person is a £35 order, or the postal one is a £38 order. So if you'd like to book any of those, then email me handmadeathome at hotmail, let me say that again, handmadeathome@hotmail.co.uk, or send me a messenger message via my my Facebook page. I saw a message pop up then and it's completely thrown me. I lost my train of thought. Never mind. So that's the card class, and next Friday is also the last day to order one of the masterfully made sweet samplers, which I'm going to show you in a minute when I put the camera down. Hi Mel, lovely to have you here. Mel has just had her Enamel Effects delivered, so she says she's interested to see what I'm doing with them. Good. Well, I hope you will enjoy them as much as I do, Mel. I've got, I think it's 7 different ways of using them to show you, so I hope that you'll find that's useful. All right, so I think it's time to put the camera down to my desk. You may be able to see, you may not. I've got my apron on because then I don't have to worry about getting enamel effects all over my clothes. It's not actually a very messy thing to use, but you know, if I'm going to put my sleeve in it, I will. So, so bear with me while I cover you over with a little bit of washi tape so you don't get too seasick as I move everything, and you'll see me in a minute, or see my desk anyhow. Let me just find that washi tape. Okay, cover you over. Let's see if I can remember all the things I have to adjust. I think it's that one. And I'm sure I will have to do some adjustments once I reveal everything again, once I can see what you can see. I normally have to change a few things. Okay, so let's take off the washi tape, hook up my cables, and once my iPad catches up, well, that's not too bad. Let's see if I just need to fiddle with things just a little bit to give you a better view of my desk. Okay, let's move things just a little bit. I'm sorry about the time lag. There's always a delay before waiting to see what you can see. And I bet I've moved that the wrong way. I'm trying to get it straight. I always move it the wrong way. There we go. That should be better. Yeah, okay. So first of all, let me show you where they are in the catalogue. Oh no, I'm not. No, I'm so excited about the I'm so excited about the Enamel Effects that I want to get started. But no, let me show you the sampler. Okay, so this is the Masterfully Made suite, which is on page 102, 103 in the catalogue. There are some completely stunning papers, which I'll show you in a minute, some beautiful sequins. There is a lovely bundle of stamps and dies. The dies I particularly love. They don't actually coordinate with the stamp set at all, other than there's a label which you can stamp on using some of the words in the stamp set. But other than that, they kind of sit independently. But let me lift this up and show you. So the dies will create what looks like a torn edge without you having to actually tear it, and a lot of my customers can't stand tearing, but they're quite comfortable with die cutting, so that's a good one. It creates this lovely notebook edge. You've got this label, you've got this leafy sprig here, and you've also got this leafy sprig here. So really, really useful dies, and 2 different leaves in the stamps, some distressed type, some kind of distressed stripes, and some words. So you can certainly add those on, but in the sampler you're getting kind of the consumable things. So let me show you the papers first, which are just incredible, I think. So what they've done is create paper collages for some of these, like this one for instance. So they've created paper flowers, and then they've laid them out along with torn paper leaves and stems, and then photographed them. And I'm just wondering, yes, I think I did have it the right way up. Let me bring that a little bit closer just so that you can see that in more detail. Might be up the other way. No, it is that. It is up that way. You can see it doesn't matter too much. And then on the other side are torn paper strips, which are just torn and arranged in a way that is so pleasing to me. So that's the other side of this one, and that one you can definitely have up either way. Then there are more torn paper flowers here, but this time they're bordering. If I pop it that way, you can see either side of the paper, and then you've got some distressed type in the centre. And this will form a card front without you having to do more to it if you haven't got much time. So these are great. Then on the other side we've got more of the torn strips, but this time in Pretty Peacock. Then there is a torn paper landscape. We've got sky, mountains, and then meadows and flowers and whatever you like to think of them there. So that's amazing, and you've just got to touch it to convince yourself that it's not actually real. It's just printed. And then berry burst torn strips on the back. This one again is down either end of your paper, so you've got more of the distressed typeface there, and this time layers of torn paper strips. And these papers here, these floral ones, are actually in the paper pack. I'll show you those in a minute. And then on the back you've got a kind of a rainbow gradation of colours of torn paper pieces. I bet they had to have their fan turned off in the room when they laid those out. And then you have 2 beautiful florals. So these are painted onto some distressed typeface. If I lift that up, I'm hoping you'll pick up the detail. This might well be my favourite, although my favourite does change week to week, I must admit. And then on the back you've got a leafy print. So these are the images in the stamp set, again overlaid onto a sort of a distressed typeface background. And then finally we've got another version of the little flowers on with like a distressed typeface background. It's as if the distressed typeface has been painted over, and then the flowers painted on top of that. So you've got, you know, really beautiful layering effect going on there. And then on the back of that, that's that same leafy pattern, but this time in Pretty Peacock. So beautiful papers. So you get a quarter of a pack of the patterned paper there. So exactly what I've shown you comes in the pack. Then some coordinating card. So there's Fresh Freesia, Berry Burst, Pretty Peacock, Lemon Lime Twist, Azure Afternoon, and Lost Lagoon. So those coordinate with the paper. Then you get half a pack of the sequins trio. So these coordinate. So you've got the pink, the peacock, and then white in there, and they are, I don't know if they'll show in the packaging, they are iridescent. So you do get kind of those 2 different colours on there. And then you get a quarter of a duo pack of ribbons. So you get 2 different ribbons, and I've just dropped one on the floor. Hang on while I unclip myself and grab that. There we go, that was coiled up neatly. It's now not coiled up neatly. But these will coordinate as well. You've got the lemon lime twist, and you've got the petal pink, which works with all the colours. So that's what comes in the sweet sampler, you can get hold of one of these just by getting in touch with me. You've got until next Friday to do so. If you can collect it from me, it'll cost you £12, or I can post it out to you. Just the extra is just for the postage, so that's £14.50. I also add into the pack a sheet of photographs of projects to inspire you. And the pricing is just the catalogue prices added together and rounded up to the nearest pound. So you're barely paying any more than the catalogue prices, but you're not having to buy a whole pack of everything. All right, so that is the current sweet sampler. Now I can get on to the enamel effects, and I'm going to show you these in the catalogue. They are on page 137, and this is the picture. So it is not easy to see what they are or what they do. You've got some scribbles and some little dots in here. But there's not much information there, so I'm going to hopefully show you exactly what you can do with them. There are two sets available. One is metallic, and you get copper, gold and silver, and one is what they're calling pearlised, which is black, white and real red, and all of those have, as you would expect, a pearlised effect on them. So I've got mine in one of the old wooden stamp cases. I've got both sets because, you know, why buy one when you can have two? So they come in these bottles. I don't know how much is in these. I'm sure it says in the catalogue. Oh, here we go. 1 ounce bottles. If I put it on my hand, now here you go. Let's put it by a stamp block. That might give you a better idea, or even a pen. Have I got a pen? Let's put it by a pen. There we go. So there's my pen and there's my bottle. So you can see they're quite good sized bottles. I tend to store them upright. I'm not quite sure how you're supposed to. I haven't managed to find any information on whether you store them up that way or down that way. But on the odd occasion I have ended up with them that way up. They don't leak or anything, so I think they're pretty stable in their bottles. Okay, so I've got some scraps of card here, and what I'm going to do is show you all the various ways that I have found of using them, and then at the end I'll show you some projects I've completed and made up which I've used the enamel effects on. So first of all then, you can make little dots with them. They show us this in the catalogue. If you're a dab hand with an icing bag, then you will be brilliant at this. I'm not a dab hand with an icing bag, but I can do this without too much trouble. So I'm just turning the bottle upside down, squeezing it gently, and there we go. Just popping out a little pearl of that. And you can go bigger. This is the copper one I've got here, if you were wondering. You just keep squeezing and it'll go bigger. And you can keep going and keep going. The bigger you go, the longer the drying time. And actually I should be able to go smaller than that. Let's see if I can. A little bit more control. Ooh, that's a wobble. There we are. If this was my project, I would just get a cotton bud, dampen it and swipe that off, and then redo it over the top. So if you do go wrong, just gently wipe it off. Don't scrub at your card, but you can wipe it off and start again. So a tiny little dot like that one, if it's a warm day, that will be dry in about an hour to 2 hours. Something really large like that I would probably leave overnight to dry. So if you're going to be doing little dots like this for accents, and certainly big dots, then make sure you've built some drying time in. It's much better to leave them for longer than you think they need, rather than go ahead, put it in an envelope, and then you find that it wasn't as dry as you thought it was. So you can also do zigzags or lines with this. No, I'm not so good with the lines and zigzags. I think I need a bit more practice. But you just squeeze continually and you can make lines or waves. If you're trying to do something straight, particularly, and I'm holding the nozzle just above the paper rather than on the paper, when I get to the end I then bring it back over itself. I hope you could see me do that, which just stops Let me do one where I don't do that. It stops you getting a kind of a pointy end. So if I just pull it away, you'll be able to see the difference. So that one there, I just kind of pulled the tube away and just stopped squeezing. This one, I moved the nozzle back over itself, and you can see I've got a neater finish to my line. So I think that is worth knowing. Something else you can do with them is pop a little dot down and use them to attach sequins. And I'm just wondering which colour is going to show up best. I'm going to use copper, I think, although I wouldn't necessarily use copper with this colour of sequin. So I'm going to pop a little dot down like that. Find a sequin. So I don't know if you're the same as me. If I have a sequin with a hole in it, I don't like just gluing that on. This is my little tiny dot I've just put down. I don't like to have the hole in a sequin empty, so I quite often add a bead to the centre, but that can start to get fiddly or time consuming, and then you haven't got the bead and the colour you want. However, if you pop a little dot of this down and then very gently push the sequin onto it, then I'm hoping you can see, not only will that secure the sequin so you don't need any extra glue, but you also end up with a little bead of the Enamel Effects in the middle of the sequin, looking like a little bead and filling up that hole that I dislike so much. So I'm hoping that shows up. It's quite small, so it's not the easiest of things to show you on camera. Alright, so that's a few things there that you can do. Let me get rid of that. Something else you can do is use it as a shimmery paint. This will work with all the colours. What haven't we used? Let's use some silver. So I'm going to add a little bit to a clear block. It doesn't have to be a clear block. You could use a piece of cellophane packaging, a piece of a plastic bag. You just want something non-porous. If you've got a silicone mat, that will work. I'm just going to squeeze my water painter just so that I've got damp bristles on the end, but I don't want them soaking wet. So I want my bristles damp, but I don't want loads of water. And then I'm just going to pick up some of the paint. If it feels like it's too stiff, then add a tiny little drop of water to it. But I can then paint with that. And as it dries, you get a beautiful pearlised finish. I've got some dried to show you in a second. Hoping that's going to show. I've got some that has dried here, so let's show you that. So this has got all four colours. You can see I've done dots and lines, and then I've actually painted with all of them. So here we've got, these are the pearlised ones, the red, the black and the white, and then the silver, gold and copper on this side. And I particularly like to use this either with a stamped image or particularly on patterned paper. So here I've got some of the Fresh as a Daisy paper, and I'm just painting the Enamel Effects onto the petals. Now we have in the past had papers with a pearlised finish on them, but with the Enamel Effects you can add a pearlised finish to any of your papers. I can imagine this being really lovely with Christmas papers where frankly you can't have enough metallics or shimmer, but even on something like this with the flowers, it adds a really nice effect. You get the best effect once they've dried, so you're not going to see that on this sample, but I have got a finished card I'll show you at the end where I've used this. So is that all the petals? Have I done them all or have I missed one? Yes, that's all the petals. So again, I don't know how well that's showing, but once it's dry, it really is. No, it's not showing at all. I don't think the light's not right in here. Anyway, believe me, you get a lovely shimmery effect on those petals there. You can also stamp an image and fill it in, paint inside if you like, colour it in using these. Some of the inks, Stampin' Up say some of the inks may bleed a little bit. I have yet to find one that bleeds. I haven't had any problems at all, but I would say try a test piece in your chosen colour, stamp a little scrap of card, paint onto it, and just see if you're going to have problems with it bleeding. But as I say, I haven't had that so far. Now it's really important with these that you do your cleanup in good time. What you don't want is for the enamel effects to dry on anything where you don't want them to stay. So I don't want them drying on my clear block. I've just got a baby wipe here which will wipe it off absolutely fine. I have found that if you get some that dries onto your clear block and you're a bit slow cleaning it off, isopropyl alcohol will get it off. So that's worth knowing, and I'm going to come back to the alcohol in a minute. I'm also going to clean out my water painter. Once I finish this session, I'll actually take this to the tap and give it a really thorough rinse, but I think this will be enough for now. Just making sure I've flushed that through. Alright, so we've done dots and lines. I've shown you how to fix a sequin. I've shown you how to paint it with a damp paintbrush. Right, well, what if you don't like any of these colours? Okay, well, in that case, change them to a colour you do like. Now, as well as being able to mix the colours together, so for instance, you could mix copper and gold together, and that would give you a sort of an old gold colour. You could mix the pearly white with the pearly red and get a much paler colour, but you can actually add re-inker to these as well. So this is the Pearlised white one, which I'm putting back on my trusty clear block, and I've got some Berry Burst ink here because I love this colour. I'm just going to put one drop on my block away from the Enamel Effects. And I've got one of our palette knives here. You'll find these on the, I think it's either the same page or the opposite page to the Enamel Effects. And I'm just going to dip the tip of it in there. So I've got just a tiny, tiny bit of re-inker on there because this ink is re-inker is very, very strong in colour. So I'm now going to mix that in with my Enamel Effects. Now, if it's too dark a colour, I can add a little bit more of the white. If it's not dark enough, then I can obviously add some more re-inker to it. And if I grab some white card this time, I can brush that colour on just as you saw me do. I can spread it on with a palette knife. I can do whatever it is that I want to do with it. And actually, while we're talking about palette knives, you can get really nice textured background effects by playing around with applying it. So when that dries, it will have these humps and bumps and ripples, textures in it, all with a pearlised finish. So you can use any of your coloured re-inkers with this and turn it into any colour you like. You can also use them with any of the others, but obviously the colour you end up with is going to be influenced by the colour of the actual enamel effects in the bottle. Once again, I'm going to clean these off. When I'm playing with enamel effects, I tend to have a bit of a session and play with them for a couple of hours, create lots of backgrounds or whatever it is I'm doing. And I have a bowl of water by me. I've actually got a washing up bowl of water on the floor next to me. I must remember it's there when I get up. And I drop my tools into it as I go, so the enamel effect doesn't dry on them. Mel saying good idea, excellent, happy to give you that idea, Mel. All right, what else can we do? Well, we can, believe it or not, stamp with them. So I'm going to bring in again my clear block palette. Let's pick the copper because again you can see it reasonably well. I'm going to squeeze a little bit of water out of my water painter. That's about a drop. you've really got to play and experiment with this. So what I want to do is I want to loosen my enamel effect so it's not quite so thick, but I don't want it really, really runny. And then I'm going to spread it over my block to cover an area that's about the same size as my stamp. Hold that up. You can see again, this is a little bit kind of trial and error-y about how much of the enamel effect you need and how much water you need. So do a little kind of test run before you start on a project. And I've got a seashell stamp here. This is from A Season of Chic, and it's the outline rather than the solid seashell. And I'm just going to treat this now as if it was an ink pad. So I'm just going to tamp my stamp up and down in that, and then stamp down exactly as I would normally, bearing in mind that it's going to want to slide because this is much thicker and stickier than ordinary ink. So just make sure you've got good control of it. There's my shell image. It's actually got a little bit of texture and dimension on it as well as the shimmer. And I'll put that aside and show you that. Hopefully it will be dry or more or less dry by the time we get to the end. And that's when the shimmer really develops. And again, I've obviously got that left on my block. I would stamp quite a few of those now, either as backgrounds or pieces to cut out for embellishments or whatever it was, just so that it wasn't wasting the paste. And while I've got everything out and it's all a bit messy, I might as well do plenty. But for now I'm doing quick cleanups, mostly with baby wipes. Now definitely do not let this dry on your stamp. It's fine to use on rubber stamps and photopolymer stamps as long as you don't let it dry on them. So this is definitely going to go in my washing up bowl of water, and I clean them with an old toothbrush, so that will get into all those nooks and crannies. But for now that will be okay, just dropped in there, and I can clean it up when we've finished. So dots and lines, fixing sequins, colouring them, brushing them out with a wet brush, stamping. Let's do stenciling. So Stampin' Up call these masks. I think they're stencils myself, because masks tend to cover something up and then you go around the edge of them, whereas these you're actually working with the spaces. But anyhow, whatever they are, let's do something with these. Okay, so I'm going to use dark card again and one of the metallics because I do really love those. Let's use gold. So you want a palette knife for this, whichever shaped one you like. I like this one that's a little bit like a trowel, a bricklayer's trowel. So I'm just going to squeeze some of the enamel effect directly on here, and as with the other techniques, you will be much happier with your results if you are willing to accept something that's not 100% perfect. You could get this 100% perfect, but I actually like a much more random feel to it, so I'm not trying to fill all the holes on all these little flowers on the stencil. I'm going for a slightly distressed look with kind of raggedy edges, and I've got my palette knife angled at about 45 degrees, and I'm scraping off the extra, and as I scrape it pushes it into the holes, and then I can always go flatter if I've got some holes that I want to fill up but I can't. So I'm just going over and over and over, a little bit more here, and then I'll lift this off and show you the result. These make really beautiful backgrounds. I hate to mention the C word again, but particularly for Christmas cards, but definitely not just Christmas cards at all. Okay, so let's lift that up. And there we are. Now I'm going to put this straight in my washing up bowl because I don't want that drying on there. And then you can see I've got kind of distressed edges, and you probably can't see the dimension on this, but there is dimension on this. These are, I don't know how thin those stencil sheets are, 1/2 millimetre maybe, but certainly when this is dry and you run your fingers over it, it is really dimensional. Here's one that I've done with copper. They're particularly lovely on dark card when you're using the metallics, but you don't have to use them on dark card at all. You could get a really lovely subtle effect using the white pearly one on white card, because it's sort of iridescently pearly. So definitely use them with your masks. They are really lovely. If you were wondering, this set of masks is the artistic mix. There are 4 different stencils in here, and there's another set in the catalogue which is called, I think, 4 Square, which is more squares and blocks and sort of plaid effects. Let me put that over there to dry. Wipe off my palette knife. I have put together an information sheet in a Word document. If you would like a copy of that, then send me a message. Don't leave it in the comments. Send it via Messenger, which you can do on my page. Send me a message or email me, and I will be happy to email it out to you. And I just go over what I'm doing here, a few hints and tips. But if you'd like all the information in one place, I'm very happy to send that to you. And then finally, I said I'd come back to rubbing alcohol. So this is isopropyl rubbing alcohol. This is not the same as surgical spirit. A lot of people think it is, and it's not something that we are particularly familiar with in this country. It's very big in America. You can just walk into any, well, drugstore they call it. It's like walking into Superdrug and buying it. You can't do that here. At least I've never found a high street shop where you can walk in and get it. But it's very easy to find on the internet. I get mine from eBay usually. It comes in various percentages of alcohol to water. This is 70%, which is a good all-round one. So it's not 100% alcohol. 30% of this is water. But the advantage of using rubbing alcohol in art projects is that it whatever you spray down with it will dry really, really quickly. If you get something wet with water, it can take hours to dry, and you get a lot of buckling. If you use rubbing alcohol, there is some water in there, so you've got some of the properties of water in terms of dissolving things in it and spreading and so on, but the alcohol means that whatever you do with it dries really fast. So I've got this 70% rubbing alcohol or isopropyl alcohol in one of our stamping spritzers. I've only put a little bit in here. It comes to about here in the bottom. Because when I mix this up, I use what I've made and then I clean out my spritzer once I've finished my project. I don't store this because I'm fairly sure it will block up the little spray nozzle if you store it. I haven't tried it because I didn't want to ruin my spritzer, but I think it will. So you don't have to mix up a whole spritzer unless you're going to do lots of spritzing with it. So I've got rubbing alcohol in there, and then I'm going to just squeeze in some of the Enamel Effects. And what should we do? What should we go with? Let's go with gold. Now you're going to ask me how much of this I put in, and the answer is it's trial and error. You can see it often sticks to the side. I try and squeeze it straight down, but it often sticks to the side. But don't worry about that because we're going to shake it up and mix it. So I suppose I've got in there, if I've got, what have I got, 2 centimetres, maybe an inch of rubbing alcohol. I imagine that if I'd squeezed a worm of the Enamel Effect, I've probably got double that length of worm of gold. I don't know if that makes any sense at all. But what you would do is you would do a little test on some card and see if it was shiny enough. And if you wanted it more gold, more shiny, then you just add more. If it's over the top, then add a little bit more rubbing alcohol. So I'm just shaking this now to dilute the Enamel Effects in the alcohol. I've still got a little bit stuck to the side, but it's not too bad. And I should say, by the way, that I got these really good little mini bottle brushes. Let me put that on a piece of dark card so you can actually see it. Mini bottle brushes, I think probably on Amazon. They came in a pack of about 10 or something, and these are perfect for going inside and cleaning that off the sides of my spritzer when I finished. Okay, so then I'm just going to spray some dark card. I'm going to make sure I know where the nozzle's pointing first, and then spritz this very generously. Now it will kind of bow a little bit because obviously it's just got wet, but that will settle down as it dries, and the surface of this is drying. I mean, I can see it happening, which is the beauty of using alcohol rather than just water to do this. And again, as it dries, it will get more and more shimmery. But I'm hoping if I tilt this, you can see that I've got beautiful shimmery card there. So this again, let's do some on some white. I've got just a little bit left in here, not much. It may be easier to see in here. Yeah, that's definitely the end of that. So I'm going to drop this in my bucket. I'm going to pull off the little spray nozzle, unscrew this, and you can't see, but I'm dropping all that in there and making sure that they fill up with water so that nothing dries on there. And again, I don't know if you can see, but this has got a beautiful gold shimmer on it. I think that's another one. I'll come back and show you that in a minute when it's dry. I've got a couple of things to show you when they've dried. It shows quicker on the darker one. You can see that that's almost flattened out now. Now as that alcohol evaporates, it goes nice and flat. Alright, so let me show you some card projects that I've done where I've used this. So first of all, just that really simple making little dots. So you've got embellishments effectively on here. I've used the Petal Park stamp set and the Petal Park Builder Punch. I've used the gold metallic effects for flower centers, and then just to add some little dots around. These were some really tiny dots. So that's that one. In terms of colouring with the re-inker, so I actually coloured some of the white pearl one with Azure Afternoon re-inker and painted all the sky areas on this patterned paper. And again, I don't know if the light's going to be good enough to show up, but it has got a definite pearly finish and it really does catch the light. I have a horrible feeling that's not showing. But anyway, the paper is from Fresh as a Daisy, and then I think this embossing folder is called the Meadow one, and then I've used some of the Cheerful Daisies die cuts on there as well. This is another one where I've painted it, but this time I just used the Pearlised white, so I've painted all the daisies. Again, this is Fresh as a Daisy paper. Hoping maybe the light will catch that if I tilt it. Let's bring it up really close. That might be too close. I don't know if it's focused. And then if I tilt it, can you see? I'm not sure you can, but believe me, it's very pretty. What else have I got? Oh, a couple of Christmas cards for you. So here's another one where I've done the dotting. This time I've used the real red Pearlised. This leaf actually is from the gorgeously made stamp set that coordinates with the sweet sampler I showed you earlier. So I've just added some dots of red to the berries on there. Bring that a little bit closer. And then on this one, again, I hope the light will allow you to see. I used this twice. I've given little centres to my snowflakes. So I've stamped some snowflakes in Pool Party and Bubble Bath. This is the snowflake from the Season of Chic stamp set. But then I've also stamped snowflakes in the white pearl, which give a pearly background. I think maybe you can just about see those stamped ones. Because I picked the white, it's very subtle. I could have tinted it with Pool Party or the pink, and that would have looked nice as well. But you can have a lot of fun with these. I do hope that you'll give them a go. Mel, you'll have to let me know what you try out. So this is my shell that I stamped. And actually those really flat areas, those are dry now. The textured areas there are just a little bit tacky, but they won't be long before they're dry. So they are nice. And let's have a look at this white card that I spritzed. Hoping you can see the gold on that a little bit more easily now. And here's the gold on the basic grey card, which I think shows up more easily. These all show much more easily in person, so you'll have to take my word for it, but they do look really nice. Alright, so what have we done? We can draw dots of all kinds of sizes. We can draw lines, we can draw zigzags. You could even outline a shape and then colour it in using all your usual ways of colouring. You can use a wet brush and actually paint with any of these. That works on all of them. You can attach a sequin with them. You could also attach beads and so on as well, but I particularly thought of sequins because I like the way that the enamel effect oozes through the holes. You can colour it with a re-inker. We did that on a block. Don't add your re-inker to your enamel effects. Have it separately and then just add a tiny touch at a time using a palette knife. You can stamp with it, as we did here. So I just loosened the enamel effect just a little bit with some water and spread it out on a clear block with a palette knife and then stamped as normal. Remember to wash your stamp straight away or pop it into some white, cool or lukewarm water so that the paste doesn't dry on your stamp, and then I use an old toothbrush just to clean it out. We can create a gorgeous background with any of the masks or stencils, as I call them, and then I've just shown you the spritzing as well. So Andriana, did I make the pink ones? Pink what, Andriana? Joined late, sorry. No problem joining late. Just explain to me a little bit more about what you meant by the pink ones. And I will try and answer your question for you. Okay, while I wait for Andriana to answer, I'm just going to move the camera back up to my face so I can talk to you properly. Oops, knocking things over here. A bit higher. Okay, let's see if Andriana was able to answer me. Not yet. Ah, you saw pink on the snowflakes. Okay, Andriana, so this one. So no, the pink is Bubble Bath ink, but if I hold this much closer, I don't know if you can see, if I tilt it, maybe the light will catch it. I did stamp using the white pearl on there. I think maybe up here you can just see. So I did stamp in pearl just to give a subtle kind of shimmer, and also the little dots in the centres of the snowflakes, which again probably aren't coming across on the camera as well as they could because it's also pale. They are also dots of this. Okay, so hopefully that's it. So how did I do that? Let me show you very quickly again. So I use a clear block, but you can use a piece of craft sheet or polythene bag or packaging. Put down some of the enamel effects. Add a little bit of water. So I've just got this is a D block, so I've got quite a small blob of the enamel effects there. And I've added about 1.5 to 2 drops of water to it. You'll have to experiment and see see what you like. And I've just put my stamp in my water because I can't let this dry on it. It has to be washed or at least kept wet straight away. But what I did was I used my palette knife to mix the water in just to loosen the enamel effects, and then to spread it out. I probably should have used a different colour. Let's put that behind. Spread it out to a layer like that. So I've mixed up some enamel effects with a little drop of water, and then I'm going to use that as if it was a stamp pad. So I'm going to tap my stamp into it and then stamp as normal. The stamp will want to slide because the enamel effect is quite kind of gloopy and slick on your card, but just stamp as normal and then immediately clean your stamp. If you have time to go back in the video, I show that with the camera down. You'll be able to see what I mean much more easily, but it's very, very easy to do. Just make sure that you clean everything straight away. Or as I said again in the video, I have a bowl of water with me when I'm working because I tend to do this for a couple of hours and create lots of backgrounds and bits and pieces for cards, and then I clean everything at the end. But once I've finished with something, I drop it into a washing up bowl full of water just so it stays wet until I can get to it and clean everything off properly. You are very welcome. Okay, so Mel, I'm very much looking forward to seeing what you do with all that. So thank you. That's kind of got to the end of what I was going to show you. I have loved playing with these. I think they are so much fun. I know I'm particularly going to use them at Christmas, but they are definitely not just a Christmas item. You can see that the pearl particularly is brilliant for using all year round, and the metallics are lovely on any kind of card. You know, they're great on cards for men as well as we ladies. So I also need to give a very quick shout out to Andrew, who is on my team. We were talking about techniques and all sorts of things, and I'd had Enamel Effects on my radar. I knew I was going to do a session here, but my discussion with him prompted me to do it far sooner than I would have done, and I've had a great deal of fun putting things together to show you. So thank you, Andrew, for making me do that sooner than I would have done. Okay, so I will be back with you in a fortnight, which is, I believe, the 11th of August, and I will put an event up on my Facebook page before then telling you what I will be doing. But thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a lovely weekend. I'm not sure that the weather's going to be fabulous, but never mind, the weekends are always good, and I'll look forward very much to seeing you next time. Bye bye.